Hello, creative Imagineers. And today we actually are going to get some Imagineering in. Yeah, we're going to be rolling up our gardening shirt sleeves and get to work playing in the dirt. And I'm using my backyard, which welcome to my gazebo in my backyard, a gift from my friend Donna Hoover. Thank you, Donna. And next to it is my garden. Now, if we want a fresh new garden in our life, we have to pull out all the rocks and weeds. Otherwise, those rocks and weeds will hinder the beauty of our garden our whole lives. I hope you guys see the analogy here. So we'd like to skip that hard work of pulling out rocks and pulling out weeds, but they will mar our lives if we don't do that work. And so that's the work we're going to do today. Now, one of the amazing functions of our subconscious mind is to get insight and guidance. And the reason it does that is because our subconscious mind allows us to access the spiritual realm and to learn things we could never figure out on our own, as pointed out in Jeremiah 33:3. When we access the spiritual realms, we also get past our intellect to find out that which we could never figure out with our intellect, right? And unfortunately, most of our beliefs, we assume we know what our beliefs are, but actually most of us only have a surface idea of what our beliefs are, but our down, deep beliefs could be a different thing. Actually, that makes me think of an analogy that I just love regarding beliefs, and it's the analogy of comparing beliefs to snowflakes. So, the minute you're born, snowflakes begin to fall into your subconscious mind, one snowflake after another. And over the years, we accumulate more and more snowflakes. And the snowflakes end up piling one on top of the other, right? I'm going to put my notes down here. And so over the years, as we are developing new beliefs, a new snowflake falls, and we like to think that now that's our new belief. Unfortunately, those previous snowflakes are still underneath the new ones. And what's happening is as the snowflakes layer on top of each other, they're creating a heavy ice pack, a hardness in those underlying beliefs. And then, so instead of no longer having those beliefs, they've become hardened under there, and we're not even aware of them anymore. So this makes me think of a funny story. Okay, this is totally off. This is a rabbit trail, but I think you guys will enjoy this really cool story of a true story of my life in Alaska. And I call this story the Ice Bridge story. So during the winter in my years in Alaska, one of the ways you would pass the time during the weekends is groups of people would go out and go snow machining, okay? And what this looked like is you put everybody's snow machine. Usually we were a group of about 11 or 12 people. We'd put all these snow machines on trailers and we'd drive about 2 hours down in south of Denali and Denali Park. And then we would park and we'd take the snow machines off the trailers, and then we'd go another 3 hours out to this very special place called Golden Zone, okay? And Golden Zone is where all the men loved to go because they had all these great hills, and the men could do their little competitions of seeing who could take their snow machine the highest before it would come back down. Now, one of the things that happens is during that 3-hour trip out to Golden Zone, you had to cross the river. So you had to wait until the river was frozen before you could start going out to Golden Zone. But once it was frozen and we started going out, what would happen is there was an unspoken agreement every year, everybody knew this, that you crossed the river in exactly the same place. And the reason that we did that was with every snowfall and every time a snow machine went over, it would pack all the new snowfall down. So we would do this all winter long. And what this would do was create a real hard pack of ice underneath us. And the purpose in that was so when spring came along and things started to melt and you could no longer cross the river, we could extend the snow machine season almost a whole nother month because we had created this really rock solid ice bridge. And this is where my story begins. Even though it sounded like it began back there a little bit, right? One spring, I went out there with a whole group of men. There wasn't a lot of women who did this. The men went out for competition. I went out there to enjoy the beauty and to paint, to read, to journal. I just take all my stuff and I'd get away from them off on my own and just enjoy the quiet and the beauty. And the agreement or the deal was, is always by 3 o'clock, everybody had to be back toward the ice bridge and we'd regather there if everybody got separated to head back to the trucks. And there was one particular day and all of a sudden, it's a little after 3 and I realized, boy, I better get back to the ice bridge. And so I'm on my way, headed to the ice bridge. So imagine this, kind of hard in this weather right now, but I'm in snow, I have the snow goggles on, snow is flying behind me because I'm zipping along as fast as I can. And up ahead, I see the river and the ice bridge and I see that all the men have already crossed, they're already on the other side. And I'm zipping up to the river and I'm noticing that all the men are jumping up and down. Wah! You know, and I realize, okay, there seems to be a problem. And as I get up close, I can see that the ice bridge, which was straight across when we crossed earlier that day, had now this indentation. And instantly, in a fraction of a second, I understood everything that was going on because my husband at the time was already walking across the ice bridge to come back to my side. I knew instantly the plan was, it was pretty dangerous taking the snow machine across, you know, there, and he was going to come get on it and take it across himself. I also knew in the same instant that I was the best bet to do it because I was way lighter than him. And I had the best chance of getting that snow machine across the ice bridge. So here's what I did. I looked at him, waved, and I turned around and zipped off in the direction I came. That I came from. And the point in that was then, now I'm quite distant from the ice bridge, and I took a deep breath, and the plan was I was going to go as fast as I possibly could, and trust me, I was scared to death, you guys. But the plan was I was going to go as fast as I possibly could, going across that ice bridge so fast that no weight would really have time to be put on the ice bridge and I would get it across. That's the plan. So, imagine this with me. I take a deep breath, I pray, and go, God help me get across this thing. And I put it on, okay? In fact, my thumbs hurt because that's how you feel the snow machine. My thumbs were stiff on there and I couldn't hardly even see because of all the snow flying past me. And I just hit that ice bridge praying and went flying across that sucker and I made it on the other side. And of course I flew way past everybody and take a deep breath. I turn the snow machine back around and I look back and all the men are on the snow laughing hilariously. I mean, they are all over the place, falling on the snow, just having an amazing time. And I'm like, I wonder what the heck is going on. So I get back to where this side of the ice bridge now, I go back to them and instantly I see what has happened. The ice bridge, instead of having further indented, which is what I expected to see, had disappeared. It was entirely gone and down the river. That was the moment I knew I was the last person to cross the ice bridge that year. So that's a true story. And what is the point of my story? Let me find it. The point in my story, I'm making this up right now, is that in spite of all that ice pack that had built up rock solid, it can still be broken free. That's a good point. So we got to get back to work here. I hope you guys enjoyed that story. So we are going to use story to play in the dirt. And again, this experience I call the story I tell myself. And I love this phrase, the story I tell myself, for two reasons. One is story form is a favorite language of the subconscious. It loves to come out and play when we tell stories, even if we're telling stories on ourselves. And most of us are only superficially aware, as I said, of our stories, but the subconscious is not. It knows these deeper stories. And our stories tell us the truth about our beliefs. But we need to be intentional to access these deepest stories, right? And the other reason I like the phrase, the story I tell myself, is we're also letting our subconscious know that these stories are not the truth. And we need to let our subconscious know that. These stories that are not the truth, they are simply our perspective of reality. So using the phrase, the story I tell myself, we're letting our subconscious know doesn't mean it's the truth, it means our perspective of the truth. Now, our subconscious mind holds thousands of stories, okay? It knows 1,000 million stories in your mind. It has stories about your identity, it has stories about your finances, about your body, your health. You have stories about your relationship. You have stories about what you're capable of doing and what you're capable of not doing. You have stories about what is possible and what is impossible. I mean, I think about my ice bridge story again, and I mean, I actually had to believe it was possible to do that, or I wouldn't have done it. In fact, I had to believe it was pretty possible. I had no close to the idea how close to impossible that actually was at the moment. But back to us. You also have your stories about your past, as you just heard one of mine, and you have your stories about what's happening now, and you have the stories about what you think is going to happen in your future. So what we're going to do today is you're going to choose to write 3 stories and give at least 1 page in your journal to each story, okay? I've included a PDF for you guys today that you can access, and that's going to just kind of give you some ideas about what stories you're going to want to write today. What do I want to say about that? It's going to be uncomfortable. Here's the thing. You're probably going to want to write the stories that are easiest to write, but if you write the stories that are actually the most tormenting stories from your past or the ugliest stories, those are the stories that are going to hold the most limiting beliefs. So I'm going to encourage you to write the ugly, tormenting stories if you want to find out the truth. Could be an ugly, tormenting story from your past, or even one from right now. I did that this morning. I wrote an ugly, tormenting story. I did this morning in my journal. The story I tell myself about, and then I wrote it. Now, here's the key. You want to do it the way we've done all composting for our gardens, is you want to do stream of consciousness writing, you guys. You don't want to judge your stories. You don't want to argue with your stories. You don't want to censor your stories. You want to write the whole story out so you could go on this discovery process and find these hidden beliefs that are hidden in your stories. In fact, think of your stories as being murder mystery stories, okay? You're looking for the murderer in your stories. Actually, this coming month in August, my family is having our annual camp out, okay? And we always do a yearly camp out that's about a week long. And we have a dinner theme every night. And yes, we do this out camping. And this year we're going to do something new for us for a dinner theme. We are actually doing one of those murder mystery dinners. And what we're going to be doing is the company who designed this game has actually given each of us, we're all suspects. Everybody in the family is a suspect, and everybody has been given a personality and a set of stories and alibis, right? And so the purpose in the dinner game is everybody has to go around and hear all the different stories so that they can sleuth and figure out who done it. It's gonna be a blast. That's what you guys are gonna do. You wanna find out the whodunits in your own life that are creating or limiting you from enjoying a full and rich life, or actually playing a part in creating these destructive habits and beliefs that are ruining our lives. So that's your job today, you guys. Now, because these stories are accessing the subconscious, when the subconscious talks, that's a good time to listen. And when you're writing, you're listening. And I know this is a big project. But please, you guys, if you don't do this work, then the rest of the journey really will not have any value, because we want to find out those biggest, deepest, most limiting beliefs are. And you're only going to find them, this isn't the only way. I find this to be a very cool and imaginative way, as writing out the stories and then sleuthing to find out what are the beliefs that these stories have either created, or have caused. And last but not least, you guys, make it fun, okay? Write the stories as if they are a murder mystery. Make up details if you can't remember what the details are. Remember my story about crafted imagination and how God told me, well, that part you don't know, make it up. Make it up. So make it up, you guys. Trust your subconscious. Ask the Spirit to help you write your stories. Okay? How's that sound? All right, you guys, go do it. Have fun, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.